Hey, it's Mark Lowe, and I don't know about you, but I'm sometimes wondering, do you remember this? And I've got an idea that I think if we go back and look at some of these things with our family, it might actually help us build more of the story. So join me now as we talk about, do you remember this? Well, hi, it's Mark Lowe with Kentucky Tennessee Research, and I'm at home and still have the opportunity to talk with family and just think about, what is this? And I really think it's one of the ways to help us refresh not only our memory, but the idea of what we know about an event, a place, a person. And it's really one of the great things about reaching out to folks around us and just trying to identify, learn more about the things we know, and maybe a lot more about the things we just don't know. I'm now to the point that just thinking about this is, right now we're going through graduations of various types, and thinking about my high school graduation long ago sometimes has made me think about events that happened, and I'm talking about this group of class of 2020 and the wonderful things that they've been doing and what they might be missing out on. And I'm thinking their memories are going to be great for a long time. So it's going to take a long time. They may have missed some events, but they're going to remember some important things, I hope. Okay? And I think we need to document those. But I also want us to think about the research that we've been trying to do and the research that we do in regard to building families, information, etc. And I want us to look at this. I want us to think about, are there ways to refresh our memory? Are there really things that can help us to think about what's there? We have that spot in the middle, but it's kind of faded. And I want to show you some of the items that we run across, but let me talk about one in example. Right now, in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, literally, we're often isolated. And I'm from a pretty close family that we were used to gathering for lunch 2-3 days a week when I was in town. And so we do get together now. We use one of the Zoom. I think everybody's familiar with that one. And different times the family gets together. So here's part of my family at one lunch, and then I have another 2 brothers that join us at other times. Well, having that opportunity, we get talking about some of the things that happened. And just recently, when I found some pictures, I decided to share with them and ask some questions. Now, I think it's safe for you to know that I'm the youngest of my siblings, and so their memories are slightly different from mine, although I heard all the stories. And so one of the first things that came up, this is a picture from obviously Easter, even though the picture is not dated, and I'm not in this picture. I know where it is, and I know the year of the picture because I'm not in it. This is the spring of the year I was born in November. So this is their last, probably their last big party before I'm around. But it's a great picture because I've got a couple of cousins in there, and then my 3 brothers and my sister. And so to ask them questions, and they immediately with this, they remember it. And my older brother told a story about being on that farm. Now that's where they lived when I was born, but we moved away from that farm when I was still a baby, so I don't remember that. And so to get those stories, although I've heard parts of them, a picture like this really led us back into the issues of, wow, what's going on? And I learned some great things. And I was doing it on Zoom, by the way, and I clicked on the recorder and recorded my brother telling the story and then my sister telling a different story. And so I recorded those. And so I can have them and put them into the thoughts of what we have going on. Now, I'll kind of share with you my process of that in a moment. But let's go back to where it started. When I was going through, I was thinking of what can I share with them that we can talk about. Well, in the process of some box, and I do have a lot of pack rats in my family. Wait a minute. I'm a pack rat, and I come from a long line of pack rats. That's good. Perhaps I should say we're archivists, family archivists. Taking care of it's a little different. But maybe you recognize this, maybe you don't. This is a stenographer's notebook, and they were around. A lot of folks took notes. My dad loved these because they were had a hard cover, and they were a good size. And he used one of these for lots of notes, and so that's actually what this is one of his notebooks. And so when I first opened it up, it won't mean anything to you guys, but these are starting on Main Street down on the highway. These are all the houses of the people who lived along the street. Now, I first thought, wonder why my dad was kind of creating a census of the properties along the way. But if I continue to go through it, then it becomes very clear what this is part of, okay? And so it starts with part of the log, and I know there is another log book, but this must have been part of the log. And these are notes in regard to the fire department, the fire calls that were made at this point in time in the city. And so there's a lot of, several of those, not many because they got a log book about the same time period, and I know they're written there. But if I go back to the other end, okay, remember there are two sides, and so you can start back. I go back and I find kind of the yearly budgetary plans, these are my dad's notes. This is a budget for the fire department, fire truck plans. They were actually, and they purchased a part of a truck and then put the pumper on it and built it out to the needs of our small community. And so I found that. Didn't realize they were there. I have other notes, and we've copied and provided to the city. And then this is a note with a certificate that was provided, I'm sure, to the men's club about the budget request that they had agreed to underwrite for that year. Well, for my family, that's kind of neat because we've grown up with the fire department. Now, in addition to that, there's lots of notes about my dad's business, and probably this is where he jotted down orders for the week of feed. We had a feed meal, and I recognize these. And in fact, one of the pages, he must have had me copy something from a box because it's my handwriting. Now, I don't know exactly when it is, but I have guessed pretty closely based on the years of the fire department notes. Well, okay, I can tell you right now that if we talk about this with the lunch crowd and I share a few pages, we could go on for years in regard to this because it's all a memory of us. That's what we're looking for, is things that will spur discussion. And that's really what we need to think about, okay? So as we give me just a second. Here's the process of doing that. And I get all excited and forget the details. Jot down your initial memories. That's yours. When you start, jot some general things down, and I would say document those notes. If you know dates of the person, the place, the event, jot it down. Before you share it with share the item with the family. Then once you do that, then record their memories, whether that's in writing or you do it in actually do try to record it in video or audio. And then one of the greatest things, though, is then to start discussing it. Maybe one remembers something and another. Ask questions to dig deeper. Now, the important part out of all of this is doing it, starting it. But I also think it's an important process is to compile those memories. Determine if there are other records to review. And I'll show you some examples of that here in just a second. And then enjoy the process. You know what? That's the great thing about what we do, is literally enjoying the process. Just finding things, and this is all in one box, by the way. It's not where it's supposed to be, I can guarantee you. But I found things that bring back lots of memories to me. Here's a studio tour at CNN in Atlanta, some point in time, and my thought says no dates, no attachments. It was in a box. I know, I remember, but it's like, when was that? And so, again, that will bring up a discussion. One of the, we all banked as a child with the local First National Bank. And so here is a bank statements for the year 1969 of our dad's business, Lowe's Feed Mill. And so that's about the time. So sometimes that's the time that things are similar. Sometimes when you find them together, much like with the photograph, that you might have things that are similar in time. And so a couple of these things are 1969, and they're not all 1969, because some of these I'm going to show you are much later. This is a key holder for one of the great trips that we made. Unfortunately, it was sometime after my dad had passed away, but my mom went, and my sister and her kids, and we all met in Maui, Hawaii, and we stayed. And this is this was the folder for the key. There was still a coupon there in the front that I didn't use. What great memories! But again, the thought of I've got pictures. We can start the discussion. It's just so much more. I've been looking. You lose things. My aunt and my uncle, Brother Ben Dalton, founded a church in Bowling Green, and my aunt wrote the collection of, well, she compiled kind of the history of where he came from and the church and all that time period. And so she gave me this several years ago, and it wasn't too long after, and I had it, and we talked about it, and we actually have in the family a Bible stand, a pulpit that Brother Ben, we called him Brother Ben, that Brother Ben made, and so I had put this in there so everybody would know. Well, somehow in the process, before I moved it out to my brothers, I took it out, and then it's like, where is this book? I found this book. Aunt Dorothy, I found the book. Okay, so, and part of that is to get this reprinted, so she wants to, and she didn't have a copy in front of her, so here's that one. I will get that one reprinted. I found the book. I also found things that I thought were neat to me, maybe to nobody else. Y'all know how that is. Welcome to Lexington. This is Lexington, Missouri, and it's one of the times that we went to a reenactment up there, and I had been doing research for some point in time. Knew lots of folks, thoroughly enjoyed it. My nephew was one of the Civil War reenactors that day, and in the process of that, I remember meeting the mayor, and for some reason, I'm like, I need to remember that, and I got his autograph and a note. Said, welcome to Lexington, Bob Estell. And don't know that I touched base with him more than that, but my dad was with me at the time. My dad had been a mayor of the town we were from for years and years and years. And so it was kind of neat when we went other places that we met other city officials. And I'm sure that this was probably given to my dad in reality at the time, from one mayor to another. And so I ran across that, and I thought, that will bring on, trust me, there was a whole amount of discussion that went with that one. Okay. I could go on. I keep finding lots of stuff. But I found two things. One, in this box, my mom worked for the election commission as a volunteer. Or, well, actually, she worked for voting for lots of times. So for this particular election, this is where she's going to keep the voters registration book. This is in 92. This was the November election of 92. And so I know where she was going to be taught and where she was going to do it. And she did it, by the way. Those of you that know my mom, she made cookies. Well, she always made cookies for the election for all the poll workers as well, at least where she worked. And so I got to thinking, in the records of who served in the various categories, this is the letter from the registrar, but those notes about my mom were in there. So if I was telling part of that story, look, she knew everybody. She loved doing that sort of work and working with the public. This is an election year. Those people all have very interesting jobs this year. So think about those. And, I keep finding newspaper clippings, and that's something you can easily talk about. But the timing is always kind of odd to me when I find things. This is an article from the Bowling Green, Kentucky paper about a genealogy session that we were going to have with the Southern Kentucky group. And here's a picture of Cora Jane Spiller. She was a Morning Star, and we just lost Cora Jane within the last month. She was a wonderful person, always such a supporter and encourager of me and my efforts. And this is her showing part of her records. And I thought it's kind of interesting. I've been thinking a lot about her. That I just found this today. Just found this today, and so the memories are always important to this moment. So don't think you're going to find stuff that nobody will relate to. And even though we're going to have new memories and new things, it's never a bad idea to go back and look at those. This is a study guide book that I wrote. We used to work for a publishing company, and we published some church publication books. And this is one small ones that I wrote in a special thing. It may have been even the draft in the first run. But anyway, of course, who would have kept it? My mom. So this is her copy of that little workbook. And when I was looking at this, I'm like, oh, that's pretty neat. And I immediately opened it, and it is full. This is my mom. It is full of clippings. It's full of newspaper clippings and pictures. And of course, I'll show you this one. They're all, it must have been Christmas time. These are all Christmas. Okay, I'll do it this way. That's my mom. Whoop, right there. That's my sister-in-law. That's me. That's my brother. And these are friends from Adams. And this is the daughters. And this little picture right here, that is my great niece. She's standing in front of her grandmother in the red. That child is Morgan Grace, and that girl just graduated from high school. Well, her grandmother called me, I'm not going to say a month ago, when she was pulling together stuff for graduation, and she wanted to picture with her great-grandmother, my mom. Sorry, I can't point at that area. And she remembered this picture of all of us, and she named who it was. Well, I found another picture with it, but not this one. Tonight I found this picture. So I'll share it with my sister-in-law in the process. And in there also, there was newspaper clippings with my mom, my brother, and Santa. By the way, I'm related to that Santa. And then here is pictures of Santa. It's all from that same time period. And it's funny how things get put together as they're put away. My mom, just like me, often would put something away and put it away. Put it away. Maybe with thoughts of keeping it. By the way, these are things that were all put together and kept, but maybe not in scrapbooks. And so we all have various ways of remembering, collecting, identifying. But when you do this, I want you to remember that process. I want you to jot down your memories. I want you to share those with your family, and I want you then to record your memories. By the way, Zoom is a great way to do that if you're not all together. And actually, it's a good way to record even if you just have the Zoom package on your computer. Turn it on with a camera. You're filming everybody in front of that once we get to be back in an area together. If that's the case, then you can turn the camera on and record just that setting of folks right there. It's not really a meeting, but it is. And so then you can talk about it. It'll pick that up. It's just like having a movie camera. You can then talk about what you remember, what's the differences, ask questions, make notes, and then compile those memories, the date of the time that this happened, and also the date at which you're recording what you remember now. And remember if there's other things to review. For example, that picture now makes me think, okay, if those were in the newspaper, I have specifics in regard to that date. The things that my dad wrote about the fire department, I can tell you I would find things in not only in the newspaper, but I should be able to find things in the city records related to that fire department. Other things that might help me draw a bigger picture and a more complete picture. And that's what I want you to do. That's what I want you to do. I hope you don't think that, I hope you'll think about me and my kind of obsessive nature of having too much stuff around. But it's all kind of precious to me. And it may be something like, do you remember this? Number one, if you ever took shorthand On the back of this, there's the chart of brief forms. The funny thing is, I once had to take study hall, and I had an odd schedule in high school. I think it was my senior year, and whatever class I wanted to take, it didn't fit because I was a college-bound student, so I took math, science, but whatever class I wanted to take. So instead of me being in the class with everybody else, it's because that's when the science class was offered. Then I want to think it was either bookkeeping or typing 2, either one. And I was the only person in that class. Well, for the business teacher to even teach me, I had to be in the class at the time when he was teaching shorthand. And although I don't remember anything, I got interested in shorthand. And there was a period of time that, because I didn't practice it, that as I did it in the class, whatever he was teaching in class, I learned shorthand. Now, that's a memory for me. And so even though this book is not mine, this book belonged to my dad. My dad had lots of these books because he loved that size of notebook. And so I haven't analyzed every page in depth, but I can guarantee you that when I start talking to my brothers and my sister, there'll be things for us to discuss. I hope things are going well with you. I hope that you and your family are doing exceptionally well. Hope that you're staying safe, that you're staying healthy, and that you're thoroughly enjoying some time doing your research, playing with your genealogy, playing with your family, talking to everybody, and keeping in touch. Because part of the fun about history is connecting it to today. And I hope you'll find the time to listen to some of the things from the past and connect them to the folks that are with you today. Anyway, stay safe. We'll talk to you soon. If you like following me, I've been skipping a few weeks. I'm back on track. I'll be trying to do new videos very regularly. In fact, we're going to be doing some other classes over the summer. And so it's good to have you. I appreciate you being in my connective, in my world. And I look forward to talking to you more later. Remember, have fun. Don't get lost. Remember the process. And this is a great way to really refresh those memories. By the way, have fun and see if you can remember more than your siblings. Well, or more than anybody. All right, see you later. Take care.